morning and welcome to Digital Sunday School, the Summer Safety Edition. Well, the summer vacation is just about ready to start, and with a lot of us traveling, I thought I would do my part to help us all avoid serious injury this summer. So, I'm going to be sharing with you my top 3 safety tips. And I'll give you a hint. My first safety tip has something to do with what I'm wearing. But before we get into the tips, I think it'd be great for us to spend some time in prayer and worship. So will you join me? Eyes closed, head bowed, gentlemen, hats off. Let me pray. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this morning, for a chance to get together to worship and praise you. And Father, we just would ask that you would bless our time together in your precious and holy name. Amen. Well, my first safety tip is pretty simple and straightforward. Don't forget to wear a hat this summer. Besides preventing sunburns, which are really bad if you're bald like me, hats provide shade for your head, and that can keep you cool and keep you from overheating. Also, if you get a hat like mine, yeah, I know it looks a little bit like a radar dish or a hubcap off of an old car, but it can be used for a number of different things. So let's say you're stranded on a desert island. Well, it can become a signal and you can reflect the sunlight towards passing planes or boats. And, I haven't tried it yet, but I bet if I held it just right, I could cook my dinner with solar power. You always need to be ready because things happen when you're on trips. They're unexpected. Now, this was especially true in the past. Think about the Apostle Paul as he traveled around the country preaching and teaching the good news of Jesus. Lots of things happened to him and around him as he traveled from city to city. This week's lesson takes us on the road with Paul on his third missionary trip, and a number of things happen to Paul and around Paul. Let's take a look at this week's video and see if we can figure out my second safety tip.
Paul traveled from Athens to the city of Corinth. There, he met a Jewish man named Aquila and his wife Priscilla. They were tent makers, as was Paul. So Paul stayed with them and worked with them. On the Sabbath days, Paul went to the synagogue to talk to the Jews and Greeks. He tried to persuade them to believe in Jesus. Some of the people believed, and the church grew in Corinth. Paul traveled with his friends Aquila and Priscilla from Corinth to Ephesus. Aquila and Priscilla stayed in Ephesus while Paul visited churches throughout Asia. Paul helped the believers in the cities grow stronger in their faith. While Paul was traveling, a Jew named Apollos came to Ephesus. Apollos knew the scriptures well. Apollos liked to tell people about Jesus, and what he taught was true. But he did not understand everything about Jesus, so Priscilla and Aquila took him to their home and explained more to him. Apollos traveled and taught others, using the scriptures to show that Jesus is the Messiah. Paul met with a group of people to eat the Lord's Supper. He talked to the group until midnight. As Paul spoke, a young man named Eutychus was sitting in the window. He listened to Paul talking and became very sleepy. When he fell asleep, he fell out the window, 3 stories down to the ground. Eutychus was dead, but Paul went to his side and put his arms around him. And Eutychus came back to life. Paul continued talking until the morning. Then the believers took Eutychus home, and they were greatly comforted. Now Paul traveled back towards Ephesus. He decided not to stop in Ephesus, but he asked the leaders of the church there to meet him in a nearby city. Paul said to them, "I am obeying the Spirit and am going to sail to Jerusalem. I do not know what will happen to me there, but I know that trouble and jail wait for me. I do not care about my own life. The most important thing is that I finish the work Jesus gave me to do. I want to tell people the good news of God's grace." Paul and the church leaders prayed together, and they cried because they knew they might never see Paul again. Then they went with him to the ship to say goodbye. As Paul traveled on his third missionary journey, he used every opportunity to tell people the good news about Jesus and to help the church. Paul was dedicated to Jesus, who called him to do the work of sharing the gospel.
Well, did you figure out my second safety tip? If you said don't sit in a window while listening to Bible verses, you would have been right. Especially if that window's on the 3rd floor. Poor Eutychus, he never had a chance. Once Paul started teaching and preaching, it was hard to get him to stop. It's a little bit like me. Eutychus had probably sat in that windowsill hundreds of times, but he'd never fallen asleep. But when he did, it was going to be for sure that he was going to fall out the window. Now, if Eutychus had had Pastor Steve's super duper safety belt, he wouldn't have fallen out the window. Now, fortunately for Eutychus, Paul was there. So, Paul went downstairs, put his arms around him, and Eutychus came back to life. Then, Paul went upstairs and finished his teaching. Paul wasn't going to allow anything to stop him from sharing the good news of Jesus and teaching people how to live according to God's will. Now, this was only one of the many exciting events that took place while Paul was on his third missionary journey. There were arrests and beatings and riots plus more. If you're interested, you want to find out more of the story, you can read about it in Acts 18 through 21. No matter the situation, Paul was focused on doing God's will. Because of Paul's faithfulness in his travels, much of the world has heard about Jesus Christ. In fact, it's very likely that those of us who are believers have Paul to thank for spreading the gospel. Now that is definitely something worthy of our praise. Will you join me? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, what am I going to do? Oh, no, let's just sing.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. It was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Amazing grace, amazing love, all from the hands of God above, bright shining as the morning sun. Amazing grace for everyone. The Lord has promised good to me. His word my hope secures. He will my shield and portion be, as long as life endures. Amazing grace, amazing love, all from the hands of God above, bright shining as the morning sun. Amazing grace for everyone, bright shining as the morning sun. Amazing grace for everyone.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. But before I go, I want to share with you my third safety tip. Whenever you head out into the water, make sure you know your limits. Don't swim further than you're capable. Always swim with a buddy. And when appropriate, use proper safety flotation devices. Well, take care, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Remember, God loves you, and I love you. Bye-bye.